Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The king will respect all women as if they were his own mother, and he will treat his own wife as the other half of his body. He will be just like an affectionate father to his citizens, and he will treat himself as the most obedient servant of the devotees who always preach the glories of the Lord. Purport. A learned man treats all women except his wife as his mother, looks on others' property as garbage in the street, and treats others as he would treat his own self. These are the symptoms of a learned person as described by Cänakya Pandita. This should be the standard for education. Education does not mean having academic degrees only. One should execute what he has learned in his personal life. These learned characteristics were verily manifested in the life of King Prthu. Although he was the king, he treated himself as a servant of the Lord's devotees. According to Vedic etiquette, if a devotee came to a king's palace, the king would immediately offer his own seat to him. The word brahma-vädinäm is very significant. Brahma-vädi refers to the devotees of the Lord. Brahman, Paramätmä and Bhagavän are different terms for the Supreme Brahman, and the Supreme Brahman is Lord Krishna. This is accepted in Bhagavad-gita 10:12 by Arjuna, param brahma param dhäma. Thus the word brahma-vädinäm refers to the devotees of the Lord. The state should always serve the devotees of the Lord, and the ideal state should conduct itself according to the instructions of the devotee. Because King Prthu followed this principle, he is highly praised. Om Gyantamanandasya Jnana Shalakaya Chakshamitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutare Swayam Rupa Garamayam Narati Swabhadantikam Vanchakapatarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavnibhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Katayata Yata Yasmin Duskaram Sukaram Bhavet Vishrupe Vishwayatin Shri Chaitanya Namanamitam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gauda Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Real education means to develop perfect character. To have perfect character means you know how to behave with other people, and the Lord, and you know your position. If you know these three things, then you're able to be a person of perfect character. So that's what education is for. Here it's talking about how to treat women. So it's described that one should treat every woman, except one's wife, as mother. But what is modern education teaching? They're teaching the women not to be the mother, but to kill the child within the womb, to become a prostitute and kill one's own child. Sounds controversial, but Prabhupada said that's what modern education is teaching. Modern education is teaching others' property. If you see others' property, just like garbage in the street. You see garbage, you don't even look at it, you don't think about it. But if you see 1,000 rupee note on the floor, you walk a bit slower at least. You walk a little bit slower, and if you walk past it, you think, oh, maybe. But real education understands this is not mine. This is someone else's property. and the person will come back for it. And modern real education means you treat others as if how you want to be treated, with honor, respect, and friendship. So this is teachings of actually Cänakya Pandita. Prabhupada would regularly quote Cänakya Pandita. A clear sign of modern education is I'm from Australia, and every year we do this thing called schoolies. So schoolies is when all the high school kids, they finish their year 12, and then they go all to this one surfing town in Queensland called Surfers Paradise. Devotees call it sufferers' parasites. Prabhupada would say they'll do a morning walk, and then they'll see the people surfing on the waves. You don't have waves in Mauritius, but they have waves, so people do surfing. And these surfers, they have very good sadhana. And many times I would travel, I have a van in Australia, and I travel around doing books in Arjuna. And then I would park next to a beach, and then wake up in the morning, swim, and then chant my rounds, watch the sunrise. It's really nice. But there's so many people already up 3 a.m. You think, why are they up at 3 a.m.? So they can catch the good waves. And then Prabhupada, he saw these surfers from the morning walk, and he says, who are those people there playing in the water? And the disciple said, surfers. Sufferers? Oh, they're sufferers. He could see that, especially to get up so early, just to play in the water, is just, it's best time for spiritual advancement. But they're just playing in the water. Next life, maybe they'll become a dolphin or a fish or something like that. So, in Australia, these kids, they all come to this surfing town. There'll be 50,000 of them. And what is their aim? To enjoy. They've done all the hard work in school, done all the exams, and now they're grown up, they're of legal age to buy alcohol, and they're going to enjoy it. And the town, they set up different stages and DJs and different music entertainment for them for 1 week, 2 weeks. But each state, they have a week. So the first state, they have the first week, and then another state, they come the second week. So us devotees, we are going there too. But not for the same purpose, obviously. These kids, they're going full into animalistic enjoyment. They're going to go and have illicit sex. They're going to take intoxication in the form of drugs and alcohol. They're going to just try and go all out. Many of the kids have a bad time. Some kids, they drink too much alcohol, so they have to pump their stomach up. They have to go to hospital. Many kids, they get into fights just due to frustration. I try to enjoy, and then they're just frustrated. So then they start fights with someone. Some people take too much drugs, and in the surfing town, on the beach, there's all hotels, high-rise hotels. So many of them, they fall off the balcony and die. This is the fruit of modern education. The fruit of modern education. And many Mauritians want to go to Australia to study. You know why? What for? if that's what you're going to turn into. Simply an animal. They call us just a polished form of animals. Just eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Yeah, the many girls, they end up getting raped as well. So it's a terrible situation, but they have so much hope for happiness, but the opposite result takes place. So modern, real education, how to treat other people. And you can tell a civilization how you treat four people. How you treat women, children, saintly persons, and the elderly. I think animals is also included. So we can see modern civilization, how they treat women, that they're not getting protected. You know, either they have to be victimized sexually when they're younger, or even further on, marriage doesn't take place, they have to divorce, and then, you know, they're unprotected again. And then if they grow older, then the children just throw them into the old age home, where they're just given drugs and just a vegetable. And that's how they're treating societies. And how do we treat children? So in the West, there's a study, which age it takes the most drugs, or has the most drug addicts, which age bracket. So you may think, which age? Maybe 16 to like 25, maybe, they take the most drugs, they're the drug addicts. No. The age for the children who take the most drugs is from like 5 to like 10 years old. Why is that? Because they're always giving them the retinol or ADHD. They have attention and deficit disorder. So now we have to keep giving our children drugs. Children play. They have so much energy. And the parents, they're like, no, they're convinced that, no, they have this disorder and they're going to give them so many drugs. So you see, they call them pill-popping toddlers. Welcome to Kali Yuga. And how do we treat animals? In Europe, every month, 53 billion animals are killed just for food. 53 billion. How many humans on the planet? 7 billion. 53 billion living entities are killed just for one part of the world. Just for the tongue, who wants to taste flesh and blood. This is modern education. So you can see how Prabhupada is very strong in calling out the illusion. Many people, we come from a dharmic background, and especially in India, they want to go to the West. So then once they get on the plane, like in India it's hard, you cannot do sinful activities, too much dharma, But once they get on the plane, things are not just duty-free, but they are dharma-free. And they start drinking alcohol, and they can try meat or even beef, eating the cow. And the cow's your mother. They're killing their own mother. Not just killing children, but killing their own mother. So we need a revival of spiritual knowledge, of real education, so then we can have people of perfect character. This is what the Srimad Bhagavatam is for. We're always crying out for someone of perfect character to lead us. Here we see the example of King Prthu. He is the example of someone of perfect character, someone who lives by the Sastra. This is actually what a real man does. A real man lives by the Sastra. Whatever's going on with the senses, with the mind, with society, no, we'll uphold Dharma. We'll follow Dharma no matter what. And what is that main Dharma? Savai Pumso Paro Dharma. Yato Bhakti Adoksaja. Haitukiya Pratiyata Yaratma Suprasidati. That supreme Dharma is to worship that transcendent Lord Adoksaja without any motivation, without interruption. And then you can perfectly satisfy the Atma, the soul. The word is called Suprasidati. So prasidati means to satisfy. be completely satisfied. But suprasiditi is like even more, very completely satisfied. And the easiest way that is done is by executing the order of the spiritual master. If one makes the spiritual master's instruction in one's life and soul, then you can very easily satisfy the Lord, and all your actions become perfect. Yasya prasada bhagavad prasada yasya prasada nagatikatopi. Without the mercy of the spiritual master, one cannot get the mercy of the Supreme Lord. You think you can control your mind and senses on your own? It's not possible. One needs the mercy of the Lord. What's the most difficult sense to control? The tongue. Next to the instruction says that the tongue, belly and genitals in one line. So if you can control the tongue, you can control the belly and the genitals. So how do we control the tongue? By chanting the holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And taking prasada. Taking the remnants of the Lord. Very easy. Chanting, dancing and feasting. So that's what we did when we came to the schoolies. These like 50,000 young kids, they are there. And they're going highway to hell, pretty much. Just like drinking and doing all sorts of stuff. So we come there and we do intense Harinam for 4 hours. Like usually, you have the fast beat that comes at the end of the kirtan. No, we start at the end. And it just stays there. Because they have so much energy. Because they're not in school, they're not in university, they're not at work. So they're out of the system. So they're looking for any enjoyment. So we start the kirtan in the middle of the street. These kids come running. They're like, "Wow, yeah!" Like this. And then usually when I do Harinam around the world, I was with Harinam Ruchi for 8 years. We've been to over 50 countries. So usually we get some people that join, especially young people. We make them dance, we teach them to chant, and then usually they get a book, go away. And this happens within 2 or 3 minutes. But with these kids, when we chanted, they wouldn't go away. They just stayed and kept dancing and wanted more and more and more. And if you slow it down, then you'd lose them. So you just have to keep it fast all the time. And then we have this big mantra sign. And they figured out that this is what we're singing. And then we'll make them chant. We'll go, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then we go really fast again. Like cheering like anything. And these kids, there'll be always like many kids, they'll come every night, 4 hours dancing with us. And sometimes this schoolie happens within Kartik, so they get like 1,000 times more benefit. And in sometimes there's like some devotees that have books. It's really hard to give books because they're just concentrating on partying. And I remember he gave one book to one guy, one devotee, and I was thinking, nah, he's on drugs, he won't read it. And then they came back the next night, and then we spoke to him. He came with all his friends, and he said, I read the Holy Krishna book, and now I see a whole new world. I see a world of joy, happiness, and peace. And that's what Krishna means to me. So he brought all his friends, and so that their schoolies, they didn't care about the nightclubs anymore. There's many nightclubs there. We were the nightclub. We were the nightclub for them. And they do this thing, I don't know, you've all been to Vrindavan, you do parikram, you go to different temples. So there, they have their parikram, where they go to different nightclubs, big group, 200 200 kids, and they have param leader, and take them to different nightclubs like this. So sometimes we catch him in between each nightclub. So we're on the street, and then you see the big group, so we go to them, and we're like, like this. And they just stay with us. They don't go to the nightclub anymore. They say, you guys are better than in there. There was another thing. Yes, so there was one time, there was like 2 Aboriginal girls. They're like twins, and they'll dance with us every night. And we're like, wow, they're so into it, And they got some books, and we're thinking, what will happen to them, A few months later, the devotees nearby, we have a farm called New Govardhan. Very beautiful place. It looks like Krishna book. They have like a lake with a big tree in the middle, and there's cockatoos, and they have these Brahman cows, and there's nice hills, and behind there's a big hill. So you think you're totally reminded of Govardhan. The deer is so beautiful. They're Radha Govardhanadari, and you can get close like here. And Krishna, his head is like it's like this, nearly touching his shoulder. He's like this, and big eyes, and he's looking at you. So we got photos from them. They went on Harinam, and these 2 girls dressed in sari, gopi dots, everything, being blissful, dancing in Harinam. I was like, it worked, amazing, somehow it worked. And because in Australia we haven't been out on the street so much, they were on the street in the 80s. I don't know, you maybe saw this picture of Prthu, and he's being carried away by 4 police. So there's a story behind that. What happened? So the devotees have been chanting on the street, but the public don't like them, and the police, they always give them a hard time. They have to run away from them. And so they warned them, okay, if you guys come on the street, this week, then we're going to lock all of you up. And then my temple president that time, he just joined in 2 weeks ago. And then they had this plan, like, okay. They had the plan, like, okay, who's going to get locked up? Okay, you get locked up, you get locked up. Okay, you take the pictures and send it to the newspaper. You do this. Like, they're ready to get locked up. And if you hear some lectures, Prabhupada mentions about the devotees being put in jail in Australia. He says, doesn't matter. Chant in the jail. Kadamba Kamaraj told me one story. They went to do Harinam in Belgium, in a town called Liège. And so they came through, about 60 devotees, chanted like anything. Cops came, locked them up. And then they're like, what do we do? All right, let's just chant japa. And they're like, Hare Krishna, like really loud, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. You can imagine 60 devotees, and like they're really fired up because they're in jail, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. And then the police got upset. It's like, that's it, just get out of here. You turn this place into a beehive, just get out. Mahavishnu Swami told another story. So he joined the Bury Place temple in central London. And that time, I think Tribhuvana was running the Harinam. And he had so much service, he did so much service, still didn't chant even 1 round that day. He's like, I'm going to chant 16 rounds. And then Tribhuvana comes in and says, okay, Mahavishnu, we're going for Harinam. It's like, but Prabhu, I didn't chant my round. He's like, but no, we have to do Harinam. But we're not going to chant rounds. Don't worry, Krishna will help you. He's like, okay. So they went for Harinam. And they went for Harinam, and the cops came. Like this. And then, devotees, they had some trick trying to run away. So they all split up, different directions. Some ran into a shop. Maharaj, he ran into a shop, but then he got trapped in there. So they caught him. And then they put him in jail, and he was on his own in the jail. And then he was just like, what do I do? So then he chanted his 16 rounds in there. So he chanted 16 rounds. Right? Once he finished the 16th round, The door opened. He's like, okay, you can go. So, in Melbourne, when the police planned to, catch them, so they caught King Prthu, and he's big. So, there's 2 police officers for the legs, 2 police officers for the arms. They're carrying him out. And then they put them, like you think they're just singing in the street. You don't need to punish them so much. They put him in, it was called the penitentiary, which was like the most, like maximum security. It was famous for very hardcore jail. They put him in there. And then when they were putting him in there, so they go, okay, what's your name? They put the name. And what's your father's name? Jayam Vishnupad Braham Saparvaraja Satatashi Shimari Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. What? So they were in the jail, and Prabhupada told them, you go on a hunger strike. And they did that. So whatever food they got, they gave it to the other prisoners. So the other prisoners, they liked them. And then the media got a hold of that they are fasting, they're doing a hunger strike. And they told everyone, that's not fair. They're just singing in the street. And in Australia, they have this thing where they like to support the underdog. If someone has no chance in a competition, say like in a football match, they like to go for that person. So they saw devotees as the underdog. Like they're just singing, now they're on hunger strike. So then public support went for the devotees. And then the police had to release them. And they said, okay, the council said you are freely, you can chant in the street. So that was in the 80s in Australia. Devotees were always on the street, they had a presence. This is how Hare Krishna became a household word. In Mauritius, I think that generation who, those devotees, you moved in when you were like teenager, right? You were always on Harinam, you were on the streets, in the bazaar, book distribution, everyone saw you. It's very common. So that was like that in the West, and especially in Australia. But then in the 90s, the 2000s, 2010s, not so much, maybe like a weekly Harinam. And you'll meet people who saw you from that time. They may be like 50, 60 years old. It's like, oh, where you been? I haven't seen you for 30 years. Where you been? And like, obviously, I haven't been there. I just said, I reincarnated and come back. And so that means that those who are like 25 or 30 years old, they've never seen the devotees. They've never seen Harinam. So for these kids, it's the first impression of Hare Krishna. And it's such an exciting one. Like I said, they try and enjoy it, but they don't have a good time. Finally, with us, they have the best time of their lives. That's what Hare Krishna means to them. So they may not become a devotee on the spot, but later they have a good impression. So later on, if they meet a devotee, they can get a book, and they can go to the temple. It's a positive experience. They'll be favorable. And that's the nature of the holy name. Shrimpata Swakata Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana Hirananta Stohya Bhadrani, Vidunoti Suhissata. The super soul in the heart, when he sees the devotee very eager and honest to hear his message, to hear about Krishna, then he purifies those material desires. Because this Sankirtan, Tasmat Sankirtan Vishnu, Sarva Mangala Ahasam, it's the most auspicious activity in the universe because it can uproot the greatest of sins. Those who understand this can convince others. The holy name is Krishna himself. Nama Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Punasudo Nijogato Binatam Nami Namina. It's like Chintamani, whatever you desire will be fulfilled. Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha is dynamic, full of rasa, that form of the Lord, fully personally there. Puna, it's complete. Sudo, it's pure. Nitya, in the liberated stage. Abhinatvam, naminamino, it's non-different from the person who's named. We just had Shivaratri. Many people carrying you call it kawadi? Yeah. It's like in Thai-Pasum. Kawadi, people walking barefoot, walking back, people doing puja at Ganga Talal, people praying, giving charity. But what is the purpose? Simply for dharma, artha, kama, maybe moksha, maybe. These things are part of the material realm. This will come under karma kanda. This is under the three modes of material nature. It's a temporary benefit. Please allow me to have better eating, better sleeping, better mating, better defense. So it's so fortunate that the devotees have come. The devotees have come to give pure devotional service to the Supreme Lord Krishna. By the holy name, by honoring prasadam, giving real education in the form of books. The devotees were criticized as being brainwashing. We are a brainwashing society. First Prabhupada said, yes, because the brain is dirty, that's why it needs washing. But then he said, Jai, Shishirada Golokananda Ki Jai. He says, what? There is no question of brainwashing, because they have no brain. They think they're this body, and the goal of life is to satisfy the senses. This is no brain society. There's nothing to wash. So we're giving the books. We are a brain-giving society. To develop perfect character. And Prithu Maharaj understood the values of devotees. It said, he is the king, he is the emperor of the world. Say you're like a CEO, boss, maybe. I don't know who's the boss of a company here. But imagine you are. And then some Hare Krishna comes into your office. And the first thing you're supposed to do is to give him your chair behind your desk. And you sit on the floor. This is a nice story. There's a king and a minister. And he's like a pundit. So the king will ask him for advice. So the king asked the pundit, what is the daily work of God? And then the pundit says, that's very simple. The daily work of God is the creation. Right? The king said, no, creation he does that one time. What's the daily work of God? What does he do every day? And the pundit's scratching his head. He's like, daily work of God? You know, and he understood the king has a temper. So if he cannot answer, then... So then, actually, I have to refer to the scriptures. I'll get back to you in a week. He said, and the king said, you better get that answer in 1 week, otherwise you're dead. And he's like, oh, okay. He's looking in the scripture, he's thinking, he can't, daily work of God? He cannot find the answer. So he decides to leave the kingdom. So on his way out, he meets his disciple, who is a cowherd. Simple cowherd person, just looks after cows, he's in the field all the time, simple person. He's like, oh, Guru Maharaj, where are you going? I'm leaving the kingdom. Why? Well, the king asked this question, what is the daily work of God? You know, I said creation, but he said, no, it's one time, so daily work. So his disciple said, oh, that's very easy, I know the answer. You know the answer? What's the answer? He goes, let me tell the king directly. And he's thinking, well, yeah, you know, maybe my life will be saved. Let's try it. So then the Pandit comes with his disciple. They meet the king. Your Majesty, your question is actually very easy. That I'll get my disciple, this cowherd, he will answer the question. The king's thinking, you will answer the question? He says, yes. Okay, very well. The coward steps forward. And he says, Your Majesty, in proper Vedic etiquette, isn't it true that the one who is instructing should sit higher than the one who's being instructed? The king gets angry. You want to sit on the throne? I go, that's Vedic culture. Okay, so he looks at his guards and he's, giving signal. If he does anything funny, then, So then the king gets down, sits on the floor, and this simple cowhead just sits on the throne. And he says, Your Majesty, your question is now answered. And then the king gets angry. But then he goes, I will explain. The daily work of God is to uplift those who are humble and to bring down those who are proud. So we see here, Prthu Maharaj has so much facility to be proud. But he understands that there's devotees who can give me the real education how to be a perfect person. They are better than me. We say it every day. Mancha kalpas tarubhyascha kripa sindhu vyavicha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavyo namo namaha. They are oceans of mercy. They are deliverers of the fallen, like me. They are desire trees because they can give me Krishna. So at Shivaratri, the walking desire trees, the walking oceans of mercy, those saviors are walking around Shivaratri trying to save those from karma kanda, from repeated birth and death, giving real education in the form of the holy name, in the form of sense control by taking prasad, in the form of these transcendental books, understanding we are not this body, we're a spirit soul, and that soul is an eternal part and parcel of God. We are the same in quality as God, but not in quantity. And being a part and parcel, we are a servant of the Lord, a loving servant. This is our position, to be the servant of the servant of the servant. Dasa, dasa, and dasa. This position is actually the most ambitious position in the universe. You may not believe me, because when you say servant, it sounds like slave, right? And Mauritius had a bit of slave history, right? I don't like it. What was it? There's some holiday, public holiday, when slavery was ended. You celebrate it. End of slavery. I will not be a servant anymore. You have public holiday for this. I will not serve anyone. No master. There's a book called Milton's Paradise. And in that book, Satan, he says, better be a king in hell than a servant in heaven. This is our disease. Why are we in the material world? We don't want to serve Krishna. Why does he get everything? Why is everyone looking at him? Why is he the one worshipped? Let me try. So then Krishna goes, okay, here you go, material world. And then we practice religion. We practice a religion to the point that we want to be a god in this world. Give me all the wealth. Give me all the strength. Give me all the adoration and worship. But no, real education. That I am a servant of Krishna. And He is the Supreme Lord. Bhakti yagya tapasam sava lokameshvara. Surinam sava bhutanam. Gantamam shanti richati. He is the enjoyer of all activities. He is the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, even Lord Shiva. He is the best friend of all living entities. When one knows this, he will attain peace. To be a servant of God is the most ambitious position in the universe. Even God Himself wants to be a devotee. Krishna, he sees, my devotees enjoy more than me, but I'm the supreme enjoyer. Srimati Radharani, when she serves me, she enjoys, millions of times more than me. And then when she pushes another gopi towards me that I desire, it multiplies further. So what's that taste like about me, that devotional service? What is it like to be a devotee? So he comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to experience real education. Real education means you attain the highest happiness, a happiness that has no beginning and end. And Prthu Maharaj, he not only wanted this for himself, but all the citizens. So it's actually for devotees, even though there's only a few of us that are practicing and understanding this education, it's up to us to actually lead society. We have to take a leadership role in society. Or you may have a circle of influence. Somehow we have to educate them, influence them in such a way to serve Krishna. Then we follow in the footsteps of King Prthu. This is how the professional reciters, these brahmanas, are praising Prthu Maharaj. This is the most glorious thing in the universe, devotional service to Krishna. Hare Krishna. If anyone has any questions or comments. Yes, Prabhu.
In Cänakya Pandita, this teaching comes, that by the mercy of Krishna, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, the seed of devotional service is sown in the heart of the living entity. So when the devotees are preaching, then they actually are sowing the seed of devotional service. Now, those seeds, when they are underneath the ground, they may be very healthily sprouting. But because they're still underneath the ground, they're not seen. There may be different levels of sand on it. So when devotees are preaching, sometimes we may not see the results immediately. Although sometimes the result is there immediately also. Different cases, different results. So the devotees are preaching through the distribution, through Harinam, through prasadam distribution, through direct lectures. That is definitely pouring water. The seed is there, and by the process it's being nourished. So as I said, it may not be seen all the time coming up because they're still underneath the ground, but they may be very healthily sprouting. And in this matter of time, it will be seen, it will grow into Bhakti Lata, and will go up to and try Krishna, the spiritual sky. So it's for some candidates it may take very short time, one lifetime, or within one lifetime you may see they have become devotees. But for some candidates it may take more than one lifetime, maybe several lifetimes. We may not live to see those candidates become devotees. But the Sastra said that it happens, because Krishna said in Bhagavad-gita that whatever endeavor you do in this process is not lost. There's no loss of diminution. So sometimes we're not able to see the results immediately, but the results are there. So the devotees' effort, for example, to get this strong devotees are preaching worldwide. The result is there. Sometimes we're not able to see it, maybe just now or maybe one lifetime, but the result is there.
Yeah, definitely.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhupada mentioned somewhere that voices may become the first Krishna consciousness. How it happen?
let me look into my crystal ball. Let me read my palm. And let me look at the tea leaves. The thing is that the golden age is for sure. Mauritius will be first. I don't know. But the golden age is for sure. We just have to make sure we're on the winning side. So, preaching is like 3 levels. We're preaching to ourselves constantly because the mind and senses keep preaching to us. Material energy is preaching to us. So we need to counteract that, have strong intelligence by always associating with the books. Growing up, Mauritius has more of a more ritualistic approach towards religion. So education and books is not really something we want to get into. But the books is not about being academic, like a scholar or something. It's about developing faith. So the Bhagavatam is very, very dynamic. If you want to put rocket boosters into your life, you start reading Bhagavatam. But you may say, I don't understand what it's saying, many times. So because Krishna is in your heart, you read it, then Krishna within the heart will arrange things in your life where you understand the purport in real life. You're like, now they got this Apple Vision Pro, it's like nearly fully interactive, like I'm in this real world, But, I play games in the real, it's like you're really in the world and you're playing in that virtual reality. But the transcendental reality is available through Srimad Bhagavatam. It's very mystical. That you'll read it and then you'll be able to experience what it's explaining. So then we become a walking Bhagavatam, literally. And that will affect others. That's when the preaching starts to go out, when you start fully imbibing. That's when it becomes Nityam Bhagavata Sevya. So that's to yourself. To the devotees, we think they know they're not the body. But you can never, run out of opportunities to remind them. Because imagine if you actually knew you're not the body, like you actually fully realized that, how much your spiritual life would take off. That you don't identify as a man, you don't identify as Mauritian, you don't identify as old, you don't identify, that, my belly needs some food. Like, you can even live without food. You're not going to die. Right? You actually know you're immortal. Then you're like a superhero, and you're like, yeah, we can do anything for Krishna. And then preaching to the others, to those who are not connected, non-devotees. We may not have the same compassion as the acharyas, as Srila Prabhupada, as our spiritual master. It's like, why should I help them? People should help me. But we try and be an instrument of those who have that compassion. We may not have it, we try and be an instrument. Like I said, we try and serve the instruction of the spiritual master, because he gave us that seed of bhakti, and you can't repay him back that debt. But you can try by preaching. So these are the 3 levels of it, and I think it's in a good. Mauritius is actually the easiest place in the world to distribute books. It is so easy. You have no idea how easy it is. It's too easy. So easy, I tell you. You just stand there with books, people come to you, and they push you, like, hey, give us a book, here's a donation. You don't have to stop anyone, you don't have to explain anything, you just have to stand there. You know, and like you get glorified like anything as a book. Wow, you distribute 300,000 books, whatever. But you didn't write the book, you didn't print the book, you just picked it up from the store, the storeroom, and you stand it outside, and now you changed someone's life. You're part of the process of someone's life changed. You know, so easy. It's like everyone can do book distribution here. You think I cannot? No, you can. Just like take a stack and stand at one metro station, stand at a bus stop, just stand there. Stand there, dress as devotee, and they'll be like, your books will disappear in half an hour. Imagine that, all around the island, devotees, they just stand with books somewhere. You don't have to talk to anyone, they'll come to you. It's heaven! And it may not be like that for long. The materialists are pushing more and more. You know, we have this temple building here, but across the road there's McDonald's. So they're right there, and they're going to push their modern education onto us. So while it's so easy, just let the books fly. Because then when it gets hard, at least the books are already amongst the people. They're already in their houses, in their attics, in their basements, in the bookshelf. And then, you know, maybe there'll be one generation that's like super atheistic, like Prthu Maharaj's father is Vena, you know, and he's a descendant of Dhruva Maharaj. You know, Vena was such an atheist, such a bad king. But then we got Prthu in next. You know, so at least we have the seed of that education, those books out there already.
I heard a class from one Maharaj, who was saying, if somehow or other there is no devotees, there is no temple, there is nothing as tangible like this, then he said that Prabhupada said it's too late, the books are out.
Yes. Yes, that's exactly right. If the atheists just take over everything and there's no more ISKCON, then it'll be generated. Someone will generate it again from the books.
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhu?
I was listening to Srimad Bhagavän Keshava Swami. And he was saying that today's world, everything is virtual. And people are getting fed up with virtual things. And somewhere, these books will have so much of value that, you know, people will just try to run for it and, you know, see something really in real terms, nothing virtual. That's a bit of his, you know, his vision of books. So that's exactly what you are, you know, referring to.
Yes.
So the bombs are already planted. You know, it's all mining.
The
whole world is mining.
We need to put more out there.
So every step is done.
Flooded. Yeah. But we also have to be a walking Bhagavatam. Because there are people who want to see someone with character. Someone who emulates those books as well. So we have to do both ways. Fill ourselves with Bhagavatam, fill the world with Bhagavatam. And just see Bhagavatam in the world. This is the Bhagavad vision.
I think that's what real devotee is all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what we are, our mission.
Yeah, we have many devotees, but in terms of like, how many are sitting here in the Bhagavatam class out of our big congregation, or listening, or regularly? It doesn't happen so much. So we need to increase on all levels. That's kind of what I'm trying to And then maybe, it won't be the first, but maybe the second country.
There got to be that enthusiasm. Yeah, it's at first in the temple. You people coming all the way from Australia, you know, to help us in this movement.
Yeah, well,
we are very, very indebted.
It's not my enthusiasm; it's Madhavi's enthusiasm. She's going out every week, and they have a Harinam party and distributing hundreds of books. How long you been doing that program for? 5 years already. It's a very powerful program. They go all over the island. I was just helping her. That's where the enthusiasm is. In Mauritius. Anyone else? Yes?
Talking about the effect of modern education, treatment of how modern education is affecting the women's status. I think that modern education is not only about women, it's absolutely not even about gender. I think the trend today is like the group of those controlled or in control, unfortunately who are in control of the economical, the global economical situation of the planet. They don't want you to believe it even in your gender status, because it's easier to control you when you're trashed. So what's happening today is like the LGBT movement is all the pervert sexual orientation of people is being glorified. So if we take the, often we take the example of the United States. If somebody were torn jeans there, the whole world would hear their jeans and wear. So they are the greatest influencer of the planet, it is no doubt, unfortunately. So from in pre-primary schools there, in the books, where you have A for apple, B for ball, C for cat and all that, in their books there, in certain states, it's no longer, the word B is no longer ball, it's bisexual. They've already introduced that in their books. So this is a very serious serious problem, and you see that this gives the LGBT movement, which originated, unfortunately, this kind of stuff, trash organizations do not originate in the US, because US is a very, let's say that if, even in Mauritius we say that we are a multicultural country, but it's a very, we need only a spark to blow up things here. And it happened already in the past. It can happen again. And in US, it's a constant. Every week it's happening. Mass shooting and all that, almost every day. So what they do is that they finance this trash organization to start somewhere in Europe. So Europe is their, how you call that, is their testing ground. They test the model and then they take it global. So these organizations like LGBT and all that, they originate somewhere in Sweden and all that and so on. It's in Mauritius also. And they're very wise. They have the best psychologists working with them. When I say I have, they say, okay, we have to tolerate. When you talk about, you use such words like tolerate, it's like I have to tolerate you. It means that me and you were different because I acknowledge that there's a difference between us. That's why I'm tolerating you. So they no longer use this kind of words. They're using words like acceptance. So I accept you means like me and you, we are the same. So this is what is happening with modern education. Little by little, in a few generations, they will dilute that gender belongingness. So even it's happening now. You read about last week it happened in England. someone raped 3 women. When he was arrested, he said, "No, I'm not a man. I'm a woman. You have to take me. Give me the one." So what happened is that the economical magnate, they finance the political guy, they amend the rules and regulations, they amend laws at national, they amend constitution to how to call that? To materialize that acceptance of the neutral gender status. So all these trash people, they are not now being glorified. Almost everywhere in the world. And Australia is not far from that. Australia has been resisting the central Catholic dominated country. It was resisting. But last year when I was there, I remember, even the central, how you call him, he's a bishop.
Bishop,
name.
yeah, bishop.
Like Pope is for the whole world, he was somebody. He said that acceptance is a good thing. We have to give chance to all. What does that mean? It means that this trust education will go into your system. What? And then you were also talking about lots of Mauritians like to go to Australia to study. Yes, true. My daughter stayed in there, they live there. Now my son is 12 years old. In his head, in his mind, he's already there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, she wants to go.
I don't want, personally, me, I've already changed mine. I don't want him to go there because, you know, even he's courageous, he's not studying the normal courage way that we did. He is already orienting towards the system and waiting for his age that he no longer need, how you call it, a guardian with whom he stay at home. When he's 14 years old, he can go because he can stay alone at home by law there in Australia. So I don't want him to go because I know that trust will be there. And I was there. I see almost 60% of your women there when I walk in town, they're tattooed. What is called a tattooed person? A tattooed person is somebody who is not well in his body. He thinks that when I decorate my body, I will attract more men. And the same thing, men also, they will tattoo themselves, they will attract more women. They think they are what? How do you put that?
This is called
sexual. I'm sexy.
Yeah, this is called Kali Yuga.
This is what.
This was all already predicted in the Bhagavatam. Everything you've said, that you've just mentioned, like the perversion of sexuality and just the deepening of illusion, it's all been stated in the Bhagavatam in the 12th canto. So what's the remedy? Kaladosha nadira janasti eko mahaguna kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sangha param vaja. Says that this age of Kali is like an ocean of faults. You know, ocean, right? You have seaside. Everything is covered by fault. Just like you jump in the ocean, there's water everywhere. So Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults. Everything is faulty. But there's one good quality, Mahaguna. This Kirtana Deva Krishna, so the chanting of the holy name is that only good quality, Mukta Sangha Param Vaja. By engaging in Kirtan, one can be elevated. Harinama, Harinama, Harinama Eva Kevalam, Kalonas Devanas Devanas Devagatim Yata. That in Kali Yuga, the only way to be delivered is by chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name. There's no other way, there's no other way, there's no other way. It's like telling you like 6 or 8 times in the verse. Because that will hit these personalities that you're saying are financing and controlling. They know exactly how to capture people through their mind and senses. Right? That's the control, right? The mind and senses. Yes, you agree? Yeah, do you agree? They're catching them by the mind and senses. Especially the genitals. So we have in the movement, actually Prabhupada's, these 4 regulative principles, we think they are basic. No meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication. Those who are empowered by Kali are trying to push meat eating. That's why there's McDonald's all over the world in every corner. Especially like killing the cows, so simple. So you stay downgraded so we can control you further. So you stay stupid. Intoxication is widely available in the form of drugs, in alcohol, and okay, we have all adults. Okay, and especially pornography. There's a documentary talking about the effects on the brain. They did an MRI scan of people who are addicted to pornography. And it actually, there's certain parts in the brain that heat up and burn up brain cells. And the activities in the brain of porn addicts is the same as those who are addicted to heroin and cocaine. Exactly the same. So you're killing your brain, burning up the brain cells. They can't regenerate. But Prabhupada says, and then there's also illicit sex, where women are giving, the only value of a woman is her chastity, and they are forced to give it up. Like you said, they have to be sexy. And then gambling is the biggest cheating. Wherever there's a casino, it's surrounded by sinful activity, because the mind is completely disturbed. So for devotees, Prabhupada says that we do the higher taste, param disvarnavatate. So if you're addicted to meat eating, it means you like the taste of blood and flesh. He says, but milk comes from the cow, that's actually blood transformed. And from milk, you can offer to Krishna and make so many hundreds of foodstuffs. For intoxication, you just take prasadam and get intoxicated. That's the high taste. For illicit sex, we don't say no sex, but you marry and have Krishna conscious children, not Varna Sankara, not progeny that they come and destroy society. And then for gambling, Krishna consciousness is a gamble, because you're going against the grain of society. This movement is the most revolutionary movement here. If they actually, Prabhupada said, if these demonic leaders or powerful personalities knew what I was doing, they would come and kill me. But because it comes in a form that looks non-threatening, a Harinam, the Harinam hits the consciousness directly, goes past the sensual platform, the mental platform, the intellectual platform, goes right to the soul. Chetadapana marjanam, it's cleansing the consciousness directly. We're going right to the root of the problem and then coming out. In like a pin, out like a plow, when the holy name goes in. When the book's going, they read one line. That's what Prabhupada said, one line is enough, because it goes in the consciousness, does the work. Prasadam, it changes you start losing the taste for meat and abominable things through prasadam. Many people come to us just from prasadam. They know there's something different in here. So this movement is like a real kick, direct kick into that push of perversion, like you were explaining, that's happening around the world. And then when we absorb the Bhagavatam, we know exactly what needs to be done to fight against this. This is a Sankirtan army. This is a fight against Maya. We are the soldiers of Prabhupada. Sorry, you brought up this revolutionary spirit in me. But thank you for bringing it up. This is good.
Then there's another thing also you're talking about, like in the 80s, how devotees were more often on the road.
Before you ask the question, is there a time limit? Do we have to finish? Like devotees have to do service? Because then we can speak personally. Unless you want to hear his question. Yeah? You want to hear? Okay, go for it. If you need to leave, you can leave. It's fine.
So, yeah, we were talking about devotees in the 80s who were more visible on the street than it is today. It's what I've noticed here, because even in Mauritus also it was more visible in those years. Now it's less. Even the maybe the number of devotees are not, but with the new generation, the new generation of devotees, I'll say, I think it's in the 80s, the movement, we say that was more or less like say like new movement. People were more dedicated. I mean, they had no other business. They were only in this like temple or whichever. They were mostly associated with temple, so that was their business 24 hours a day. But nowadays it's like, you know, people work. Myself, I might be working, I'm coming here. It's not me, I'm not even an initiated devotee, but there are others who are initiated, but they have their own work. So the material existence is here. I think with generation also the material appearances of the devotee have increased also. And is it a good thing or a bad thing? I think it's a very bad thing because I think ISKCON is adapting to this situation. It's not that people who come from outside with their material opulences and all that, they have to drop, if not all, but most of it, and then come here and take up the spiritual life. It's the old river saying I was doing. ISKCON is adapting itself to the external material world. Is it compatible? I don't think so, because from past that was even the base, the idea of creating this whole organization to transfer people, to bring this transformation people that they even if there is the material opulence is there in them to some extent, it's being used to some extent. But I think it's the other way around. Krishna consciousness is being used for material.
Yes.
This is very bad.
Yes. It's a big topic. It's nearly a seminar. But there's a book by my spiritual master. It's called Diving Deep. It's very small. And it talks about, I'll say briefly, because of time. So he sees this particular movement in 3 levels. So the top level, if you think of it like an ocean, so you get in a deeper level in the movement. So the top level is like the organization. You have the buildings, you have the different people, and these people, some are very advanced, some are not. You know, it's a whole bunch of people. Some are just on the outside, some are really into it, some are managers. Okay, different people. An organization, you know, that's on the surface level of like Krishna consciousness movement. You go a little deeper, the next level is the teachings of Prabhupada. The teachings of Prabhupada are always pure, and if one always resides in there, whatever happens in the service, say, for example, history that had some gurus are falling down, or there was like some, COVID came, so you had to shut down the temples. It's like, it's surface. But the teachings of Prabhupada stay the same through all those circumstances. Agree? Correct? Okay. So the deepest level is when you practice Krishna consciousness and you experience Krishna in your life. Or Krishna came, was with me that time. Krishna's real. Something happened, you're like, yeah, Krishna's real, man. Like this. So that's the deepest level. Sometimes we've experienced that deepest of levels. Majority of the time we're on the service, look, this devotee, they're not doing it properly, that devotee is not doing it properly, he said this, she said that. Politics here, there, left, right, and center. Politics or, whatever is going on. That's surface. So we're trying to always endeavor to be on the deepest level, always be in Krishna, despite what's happening around us. But if you can't be there, then you can be with Prabhupada and his teachings, trying to apply them. And then the things will happen on the surface, but they won't affect you so much. Because the most important thing with whatever's going on earth, this ISKCON is pretty much just like a train station to the destination, Goloka Vrindavan. So if in the train station, some rubbish here, some graffiti here, a drunk guy sitting on the bench, you don't worry too much. You just worry about catching the train, not fixing up the train station so much. We want to make it nice so many people can take the train, but it's not our main concern. The train is Prabhupada's teachings, the destination is Krishna. That's the book. Is that okay? Okay. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Vidai Go Premanande.